Hi friends, welcome back to Crash and Learn. On this Rafting Magazine series, we scour the internet to find all kinds of carnage videos. And what do we got up today, Kaylee?
We have a video from Kevin Hom on the Minakami River, or in Minakami, Japan.
So this video has some pretty cool lessons in it, and really excited to share this with you because the guide professionalism is great. Super love it. And the things we're going to be talking about and focusing on today are going to be the boat spacing. We're going to talk about training, and we're going to talk a lot about communication in this video. So let's get into it. As always, these videos can be a little difficult to watch, so we just want to put this disclaimer out there. We are, in no way trying to discredit anyone, be pejorative, or anything of that sort. We just want to make sure that since these videos are out there on the internet, we sit down and we talk about them and talk about how we can do better. And hopefully, something in this video, if you see it and you encounter it on the river and you pick something up on it, and if it helps save someone's life or just helps someone prevent an accident, this is what we want. This is what we're trying to do, and it's all about education. So with that being said,
yeah, the link to the original is going to be down below, so if you want to check that out, feel free. Let's get into it.
Just gonna watch this with sound, start it out, and then we'll go back and break it down like we usually do for you.
So this is in Japan?
Yeah. Looks like a cool river. Like, there's a lot of features and there's a lot of stuff going on here.
This looks sweet. It's like looks like a lot of
like little slides or something. It's very continuous. So I watched this video earlier. Kaylee hasn't seen it yet, so we're gonna give you our reactions. I mean, it just looks like some good fun boating.
Yeah.
That was a good hit. So again, it's very continuous. You see eddies on the side. This is obviously isn't a high water trip. Oh! So there's one flip right there.
Looks like they're getting them in with the paddle. That's good.
Kind of a fun raft surf. All right, that's good technique right there, but too many people involved in it, I think. Probably just one or two people on the left side could have just grabbed that person's lapels and pulled them in.
Yeah.
That flip happened pretty quick. I mean, everybody was having fun, and it just illustrates how quick it can happen. So as we look downstream, I'm seeing the guy's getting people on top of his boat, which is great, and they're going to rescue this one person.
Oh, run them over.
A little too much speed. Okay, so we got the two people in front, pulling them in. That's great. Got another person in the compartment here.
You can always go to the side to them and then pull them in. Generally, try not to hit them with your bow.
Yeah, there's a lot of weight in that boat, too.
So they're upside down, they're on top of the raft, and they're going into this next feature.
So one thing that I'm seeing here is like, okay, we got a bunch of continuous white water, and that's a pretty safe place to be because people are out of the water, but there's nothing to hang on to here. So, we got a kayaker over here, but what I would want to see probably is like people, or what I would want to be doing is like pushing that boat into an eddy.
Yeah, because a lot of them don't have paddles. I mean, they should try to reach for the paddles.
Pretty sketch place to be right there.
Yeah, I would not want to be there.
Yeah, it's tough because like if you're reaching for a paddle, like somebody could go out, get off balance.
So they don't have very much control because they're on top of the flipped raft, but they also don't really have paddles. So that makes it really tough. So they're kind of relying on the current and their fellow boats.
Yeah, and
the guy does have a paddle, so he's able to do some stuff.
So this is good. The guides link up boats. So this is kind of the first available spot, but so the guide went in, unfortunately, and it's pretty rough. And that guy jumped across, went in, or girl, I can't tell. So the guide's trying to transfer people off the boat right now. I don't know, what do you think? That's a pretty good call.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough place to be in. Ideally, somebody from this boat would have helped out the guide to help link those boats,
Yeah, and the guide can help the guests across. So
Yeah.
the guide's unloaded a bunch of people from the boat, and now has this person lay down. It's not an altogether bad strategy, having someone lay down on their back like that, because then they got a lot of surface area they're touching the boat with.
It'll be a little bit more stable there too, I would think.
Yeah, you got some more little riffles there. You got a lot of people in this boat, so it's going to be really hard to make that happen. They grab the last person. Trying to pull into an eddy here. Looks like they're just going to end up stopping. Oh, the guide got up. That was a quick flip.
That was a super quick flip. That's awesome.
And that was a really fast reflip. To that guy's credit, like the IRF standard is 2 minutes to flip a boat, get on top of the flipped boat, and then flip it over, and then remount it. So, I mean, that guy went quick. Oh no. Oh, they just flipped.
Try to see what happened. It looks like it just got pushed up in a pinch and pushed up against the other boat and flipped back over.
I think it just hit that other boat, and the water pressure just flipped it over. So they're trying to get him back in before the next rapid.
Yeah, I mean, ideally that other boat, there's a couple boats over there, would be grabbing those paddles, helping them out.
They also have other paddlers in their boats from that flipped boat.
Yeah,
too,
I think there's a paddler in that eddy over there too.
I think it was a kayaker.
Was it a kayak? Okay.
You can see as we're talking through this stuff, it happens so fast, and you really want to be pulled over at some point here, and that guide is unfortunately R1ing that boat back. All right, so we're going to jump back just before the flip in half speed, and we're going to take a look at this. So they're coming down. I didn't really see this at first, but got a nice big juicy wave there. They're coming in. Now this is the point where flip is just about to happen. I don't know if they low-sided or what, but see in just a second. So they hit. Yeah, we got a bunch of low sides. Ooh. So I've had 2 flips, I think, in my lifetime like that, where people flip into your boat. It just sucks. I mean, sometimes it's actually good. I had a group flip into my boat, and I had 2 people land in my boat. So there are actually only 4 swimmers and the guide in the water, which is pretty cool because then, it was really easy to recover from that. But
it looks like it started because they also just hit that wave sideways, and it looked like they might have potentially bumped the nose against a protruding rock as well, so that didn't help it.
Yeah, but you notice, because they're commercial clients, they weren't really expecting it, and so everybody, fell to the low side. And this person over here that's in the water, they're laughing. They're having a good time, So it wasn't a bad issue, I would say, but let's see here. So we're about 30 seconds from the flip, or after the flip, and you can see that downstream, it was only for a second, but that guide that flipped had a good portion of his crew in. There's still somebody in the water now, and we're almost a minute after the flip.
It looks like they are holding onto the raft, though, so they're still within contact.
Safety kayakers helping out there. So, that helps. There's one person still floating, but everybody else, we got 4 guests on the boat. 1 guest still in the water. We were watching this before, and it was we were kind of joking about, slamming into the person. But it's really hard to tell, but there's a rock under the water right there. And that person kind of gets, sucked into the slack water, and the boat just plows into that person.
So had they not hit the slack water, it would be reasonable to assume that they would have been a little bit further left as they were moving with the current.
Or the person would have been further downstream on the right side of the boat and been able to get them, which is actually a good tactic. You want to be like upstream of the person so that you can pull them in, because if your boat is downstream of the person, they won't be able to see it. And if you hit a rock and stop, the person can get sucked under the boat. So I think that was a pretty good tactic, was to try and aim to get that person there. But we have a flipped raft on top of that slack water, so it's really hard to see like that point. But now we got everybody pretty much recovered. You know, the guide has them on top of the boat, and they're kind of laying down in a relaxed position, but they are grabbing on, or at least trying to, and then having like lots of contact with the boat, because we're going to see some big waves here in a second that they're going to hit. You know, nothing huge, but big enough that it could easily wash someone off the boat. Like that lady just took a face full of water right there, and she's about to take another one.
And when the boat's upside down like that, and these boats have a fair amount of rocker off the front and the back, so they can be really unstable because the points of contact on the water are mostly on the bow and stern, so they can rock side to side with just a little bit of movement. So the guide's doing really good of making them lay flat and put their arms and legs like down to give them the most contact and on the back of the boat or flip the boat.
You know, I'd mentioned that ideally you'd want to push them into an eddy, and you know, I say that not knowing the river, but you know, there's not a lot of good eddies to stop in here. So and then we've got this big concrete wall on river left, and that doesn't help either, because it's like, you know, it's like being in a drainage ditch or something. You're just not going to get out of that, and there's not, you just don't have the natural features of the river, which from what it looks like in the Minakami, you've got these fingers of rock that stick in it from each side that would create some good eddies. I mean, there's kind of some good eddy space there, but still that unnatural channel creates some problems for trying to eddy out. And you see they have to really wait until they're in the natural channel again to be able to eddy out. So that's, you know, that's a thing. One other thing that you'll notice whenever you have inexperienced paddlers in your boat is that when things go crazy, like, it's already hard enough to get people to do stuff when they're out of their element. And, you know, folks are out of their element as it is. So as soon as you start rescuing people, you get really out of your element. And this is why when you have, like, a safety boat, you want to have experienced boaters in that, or at least guide trainees or people who are familiar with the river. Because if you have just guests in it, just like,
it's kind of like that awe factor where you stop and you stare and you like just watch the show and you're like, oh, I need to react. I need to do something. So it's always good to prep your crew ahead of time. Like, hey, if something happens, I need you guys to help and react.
Right here, they back paddled, like the crew in this boat back paddled, and you know, that guy got thrown off balance. Ooh. And then he just got kicked in the head. You know, unfortunately, he's having kind of a rough day right now. So they're trying to get this person back into the boat, which is a good tactic. I think offloading people into another boat that's, you know, not flipped is probably a good plan. That being said, you can't overload a boat. So having too many people in the boat, you see they're just like, there's just people everywhere, and they're piling over each other, and people are flopping around, and they're just, you know, grabbing legs and arms and PFDs and just shoving that person into a compartment.
One thing that's cool too, I just saw the guide came up from the side of the boat when it's flipped upside down, and that can be really hard to do. So kudos to him. Super strong. Oh yeah.
That arc boat has a pretty big set of tubes. So yeah, that's a feat, like getting up. I mean, that's training right there. And that's what's really cool about that, is when you do a lot of training, you can do that. And right here, I'm just going to stop it for a second so we can see this, but you can see that guide is actually shielding his guest with his body. And like, you can see the guide's left hand is in the floor drain holes, and the right hand is like grabbing onto the PFD, and his body is kind of like on top of that person to make sure that person doesn't go out. That's really cool. That's some great professionalism on the guide's part, because that guide is concerned about the people. All of these guides are concerned about the people. And that, you can rip boats, you can destroy paddles, you can lose gear, but you don't want to lose people. People are the big thing. So seeing this guide like care so much about the people and the guests, that's awesome. Like that's what we like to see. And that's a mark of a good boater. And you can see the guide grabs onto the other boat right there. And that wave was going to stop the guide. We can go back just a little bit and watch that again. This wave is like, it's a really powerful wave. And he's got almost no momentum, just enough to kind of hit it and move through. But he doesn't want anything to happen to his guests. So he reaches out and he grabs that boat. And the boat that's already through is flushing downstream, pulls him downstream. So he's trying to use whatever he can. He's got a paddle in that boat, but he's trying to use whatever he can to get that boat over to an eddy, link up with another boat, and have him move that boat around. And he's really working and manipulating the boat through the river. And right there, he just transferred that guest over to another boat. So that was some pretty quick pinpoint moves on the guide whose boat we're in right now. And then we come up to this nice eddy.
And this is so cool because he has it flipped by the time that they turn around. So once he was able to offload all the guests, he can get to it and just flip it over now that he doesn't have to worry about anybody going down stream or having a bad swim.
And that was like I think we counted it was 38-second flip or 39-second flip between the time that we saw the guide on top of the boat and the guide back in the boat. And the IRF standard is 2 minutes. So, and I mean, even if you divide the IRF standard in half, he's still moving twice as fast.
Yeah. So here they're moving downstream. They're about to hit another feature.
This is actually where they dry flip. So we saw this before.
Yeah. So the raft's starting to go, and the guide is on the raft, so he dry flipped, didn't even get in the water. So that's pretty amazing. Again, a ton of practice and repetition with getting those skills down.
I want to go back and we're going to watch that again, because what we can see is they're getting pinned up against a rock downstream of them, and the boat that we're in is being pushed by this empty boat. So he starts transferring people back, and you can see what happens here in just a second. And it's really easy to miss. So this person looks downstream, they kind of hit the rock there, and it goes up. And for a second, we could see a little bit of water pouring in. So everybody was saying, get right. The guide whose boat we're in is saying, get to the right, get to the right. And, good on this dude with the camera. He reaches out, grabs this person, just pulls him back in because he sees what's about to happen. The boat's starting to flip. The thing I would say, and again, we watched this, we reacted to it earlier. It happened really fast, but, if you can get your boat over onto shore more, that's a good thing. That being said, that's a lot of weight in the boat that we're in. I mean, you got 6 people normally, plus
an extra 2 or 3 that they picked up.
I think you have 3 in this boat now. So we're talking, the guide steps out. There's 10 people on this raft. Expecting the guide to pull the raft and 10 people into the eddy, that's a lot to ask of someone's body. But I'm not strong. I don't know about anybody else.
I am.
Yeah.
Not everybody is.
That was just such a cool dry flip. The guide grabbed onto the perimeter line of the other boat. He never lost contact with this raft that we're in. And this person flushed right out. Our boat is going to pull. Our boat is going to kind of let everything go. And this guide, I think, how does he pull it over? I think he does the sit down kind of. Yeah. That flip was awesome. So our friend Nathan, he pulled this flip for a flip challenge thing that we did. Basically, you stay on the one tube, get down really low, and put your fingers in the floor webbing, and then you rock back and then flip the boat over on top of you, trying to get your weight as low as possible. And that's a really hard flip to accomplish. So, you know, that was pretty cool seeing that guy flip that over like that. And we'll see how long it takes to get back in, but I think that's...
And again, he was on the downstream side, which is going to make it a lot easier to do that flip. He checked behind him before he did the flip to make sure he's not going to hit a rock. And also by doing that, that kind of lifted the edge up so that that swimmer could come out of from underneath the boat. And
that was like that was a sub 30-second flip and remount. Like, that was pretty slick. That person, this guide obviously has trained to flip before. And then we got our boat pulling this person in. I think I saw in an earlier section of the video that the guide in our boat was able to use some of the crew from the other flipped boat. You can see he's kind of arrayed the crew around the boat to try and pad his boat and give him some extra paddle power. That's a good thing to do. If you're ever in a rescue scenario, go out and, you know, you grab people, you pull them in. The best thing to do, instead of just having them sit on the floor, is to get them in a position where they can be helpful and useful. Even though they're a little shocked and stunned, you give them a task. And I don't know, I try to do that all the time. Just give people a task, give them something to do. Let's keep going. This poor lady has like so many people crawling all over her.
And this guy's having a hard time, you know, with all those extra people. And you saw when we paused it, a lot of those paddles are in the boat. So it's just kind of like a bowling ball. He's doing his best to try to get to the other guy and help him out, but he doesn't have a lot of maneuverability. So
this is where overloading your boat comes into play. You can see the scuff strip is basically underwater when this person with the camera leans out. There's like, you can barely see the scuff strip on the bow of the boat.
There's like 6 paddles in the boat, which you want them outside, you know.
There's like 4 people in that front compartment alone. Like, that's a lot of weight to move around. So getting those people where you need them, super good. And everybody's just kind of sitting around laughing. And this is good. The guides are laughing. Everybody's laughing. When you watch the rest of this video, you see like they talk about being the rescue boat, and they're super happy, and they're talking in Japanese, and the people start leaving, and they're like, they say arigato, and like, they're really appreciative of the help. And this guy, you could see like he's having a rough day. He's just like, tired. Like he's flipped 3 times now, got kicked in the head by a guest, like. And he doesn't like.
He's still in good spirits.
Yeah,
he's making jokes, and
he's like, when you watch it, he's like, "Oh shit, that was crazy." Like, it's and he laughs about it, and everybody's laughing about it. They're all having a good time. You guys okay? Yeah, we're okay. You get the extreme tour. You see the guide here on the back of the boat. He's out on the shore, like holding everything, giving people high fives. Like, this is like how you want carnage to go. If you're gonna have carnage, like, you want to be able to recover, you want to be able to do that. So that was some good stuff.
Yeah.
But I think we should hop over and do a little recap real quick. I think there's a lot of good stuff that came out of that. Some of the things that we want to focus on here were like boat spacing. And at the time of the flip, that boat spacing was really tight, and in a continuous river, I like to keep that tight boat spacing. It really helps out. They were a little close, though, I think, at that point. When you have big features like that, you might want to give it a little more space, just because, you have a flip like that, and people are flipping into your boat. That being said, they could always flip into your boat, and they're
the rescue's half done.
Yeah, it's already half taken care of. But as you go downstream, you saw those boats were really tight. They were really close. And I've had some situations on the river where it's like nasty stuff is happening and we need like tight boat spacing. I remember a broken femur incident on the river where we just stayed really tight just in case. Yeah. It's like... that really tight boat spacing was, it just helps in case something happens. You want people around. You don't want people going in the water. You've already had people in the water. And especially if you got people on the upside down part of the boat.
Yeah.
Like you want to be close to them to make sure that if those people get washed off the boat, you grab them. Boom. They're in your boat right away. We were talking a lot about communication in this video.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think that the other boats did a really good job communicating. I don't think you could hear it when we were talking over it, but when the rescue boat with the camera picked up a couple people as they went by the other guy, he said, "Hey, I got two. So the guide was able to kind of figure out where his people were, even if he couldn't see them. Just gives him kind of peace of mind. He knows where his people are, that they're safe, and then he can figure out where, everybody else is. So, yeah.
And we talked a lot about training in this video, and you can tell that, to the guide's credit over at Canyons in Japan, like, these guys train a lot, and they work a lot at their skills. Like, they spend a lot of time in the water, flipping boats, reflipping them. I mean, just from the dry flip standpoint alone, that was freaking cool. But it takes a lot to be in that headspace where you're like, oh no, my boat's flipping. I'm going to grab onto that perimeter line to keep me from flipping. And then whoop, you go right over. And not only that, like those sub-minute flips that the guide was pulling in that flipped boat, like that's hard. That's really hard. Takes a lot of upper body strength. It takes a lot of training. It takes a lot of practice. And, that's the thing about tougher whitewater. If you want to be a guide in tougher whitewater, you got to train and you got to be able to pull this stuff off because that guide is going to be able to do what needs to be done. This is why we always say train. You see us out all the time. Kaylee's always taking the girls out to train and practice your skills because that's really what's going to make it happen.
And I think it's also being comfortable with your skills enough that, you can pull those moves off when you're having fun and you're calm. But in the moment you have adrenaline running and you're trying to take care of your people, to be able to be in the headspace to still do that efficiently is really impressive. And again, it takes a lot of training. You saw him on the upside down boat with, again, a lot of rocker and a lot of kicker on that boat and being able to pull himself over the side, which is pretty impressive. It takes a lot of strength. It's wintertime or something. It's very cold. You can tell by the clothes that they're wearing. So not only does he have to flip the boat over 3 times and take care of all these people and pull people in, but that cold shock also does a number on your muscles too. So
yeah, it takes a lot of energy to do that. And you can also see those boats, like I've taken arc boats down the river before, and those boats, they have pretty wide drain holes, but it's really hard to get your fingers in there, especially when you're mantling up and over the side to be able to get your fingers in those drain holes and then pull yourself up even more. That's...
when carnage happens, you always wish it would go perfectly. We always want to be able to flip it really quickly and get everybody in, but that doesn't always happen with the features that you have available, the time between those rapids, and of course your crew. So I think they did a really good job with what they had available. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on there, and you can see it in the video. It's really chaotic. It's really hard to figure out where you need to be. And as we were, just watching it, and especially, you guys got to see Kaylee just watch it through. It's like, oh, wait, what's going on here? What's going on here? You got to have time to assess. So it's not always perfect. It's not like it's tough. Carnage is tough, and that's why we train. And, shout out and kudos to Canyons and their guides for going out there and training. That, you got to make time for that. And that's what it is to be a professional guide. And, these folks obviously have a high degree of professionalism. So, I was super stoked about that video. That was pretty cool. Thanks for joining us for episode 2 of Crash and Learn. If you have some carnage that you would like us to review, send it over. And any thoughts on this video, drop those below, and we will see you guys downstream.